Have you ever noticed you can find hundreds of these old desks for sale on Facebook? I got this one for only $30, but nobody wants it like this. So let's see if we can turn it into two really cool nightstands.
Not only was this vanity dirt cheap, but the details are absolutely charming. My client wants it fully sanded down and turned into a warm, cottagecore nightstand set. This set has a backboard on it that needs removed and replaced. Then once that's off, I grab my scraper to get the majority of the paint off. This piece had a really bad paint job on it, so scraping it off was easier than it would be to sand it down. I always like to scrape a little from the top of my pieces to get an idea of the finish and the wood quality. Sometimes the finish flakes off easily, but sometimes it doesn't. And doing this little sample helps me decide if I need to use stripper or to sand it. With the majority of it off, I get my sander to finish the job. Now that the top is fully sanded down and I have a good idea of what type of wood I'm working with, it's time to cut a new strip of wood to fill in the back slots on the nightstands. I've done this a few times at this point, so I know it'll hold well and can be blended in. It is tricky when you want to match two types of wood together, especially on the highly visible top section, but it's what needs to be done in order to make this piece look complete. Now that our top is secure, let's flip her over and cut away the middle section. This stage is what brings us from a single vanity to two nightstands. But now that she's split, she's missing a leg. I ordered extra legs, added them on, and cut them to the right length. They're not a perfect match, but I let my client know this ahead of time so she knew what to expect. She was not deterred though by this, and she thought it made it even more unique and tells a story about the journey. Adding different legs is super easy. It comes with the necessary hardware installation kit, so you just drill a hole for it to sit in, then attach the screws around the base. From there, the leg just twists on until it's snug. What's nice about these base hardware is that once it's installed, you can swap out the legs for a different style with little to no work. Our structural changes are complete, and now the daunting task of removing all this paint is here. Every time I finish a piece that requires a complete strip down, I say I'll never do it again. But just like childbirth, you usually end up doing it again. Since these drawers are nice and flat and covered in thick paint, I decided to use acetone to strip them. The blessed owners also painted the sides of the drawers too, so I had my work cut out for me. This was a bad paint job, and I didn't see any primer under the paint, so it actually came up super fast with acetone. I repeated the same process on the sides and front too, scraping off the old finish. With the majority of the paint off, sanding is a breeze. At this point, I'm starting to see though that this vanity is made of different types of wood and wood veneer. So getting it all to match into one cohesive stain in the end is definitely going to be tricky. Pro tip, if you don't already have a shop stool on wheels, you're missing out in life. This thing saved my back while I sanded. The drawers are unfortunately the easy part. The sides have more trim and edges that need cleaned out. I exclusively use my scraper tool when it comes to getting paint and finish out of the creases. I also like using rubber contouring sanding tools for the seams as well. I will link all my sanding tools below because unfortunately when you strip an entire piece, you will need a few different types of products. At this point, I was getting tired from sanding and just wanted to be done. But I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately, I could also see that the veneer on one of the sides was a totally different type of wood than the other side. And it was holding so much more paint in the wood grain. To fix this, I lightly brushed it with tan paint. Not only does that cover the white paint stuck in the wood grain, but it neutralizes the wood tone so it matches the rest of the nightstands. Like I said, this thing was made out of so many different wood types, and every side that I sanded, I got more and more worried about how the final result would look. Here we are, endgame vibes, the last side. Thought I was safe? Nope. Veneer said psych and started peeling. My first attempt to fix this was to glue it back on, but that didn't work. So I had to resort to filling with Bondo and using my paint matching skills to blend it in. Not gonna lie, this nightstand cooked me. I had to use every cheat code that I had to get this through the finish line. I primarily use Bondo for repairs, small and large. It's so easy to use, dries super strong, and doesn't absorb moisture. I'll link it below. I'm using it to fill the seam between the two wood pieces on the tops and also the section where the veneer flakes off. It only takes 15 minutes to dry on a day like today when it's super hot and dry, so I was able to sand it down and move on to the best part, applying stain. My client was going for a neutral medium brown tone, so I interpret that as applying a tan paint wash to neutralize the wood and to make the various wood types cohesive. Then, once it's dry, going in later with a medium brown stain. For the tan paint, I like to use the color Antler Velvet, but you can certainly use whatever color that you like. And then make sure to water it down. I use 1 part paint and about 3 to 4 parts water. Since the wood is raw, this first coat is going to absorb really fast and might end up patchy if you're not careful. I mist down the section I'm working with to help the product spread evenly and then wipe it back just after a minute. You don't need to let paint washes sit for a long time. The wood is so porous that it'll absorb rather quickly. When staining the drawers, pull them out so you don't accidentally add extra stain on the side of the frame. You want one coat covering each piece evenly. Here you can see just how different the two pieces of wood are on the top. I'm really hoping this tan paint wash will blend them together more and we won't have any issues down the road. My client loves the original knobs and so do I, but they need a little sprucing. To the salon! I added a fresh coat of antique brass paint to them, and I've learned that the secret to spray painting knobs is to apply a durable top coat to them. While those knobs dry, let's start on the darker stain. This is where the magic really begins to happen. This step takes it from bland and basic to warm and cozy. The color I use is Early American, and I'll link that stain below. I also like using this fluffy deck brush. I find it helps get into the corners and spreads the product very evenly. This stage is where you really have the most creative freedom. You can go as light or as dark as you want. I always recommend starting light and keep adding dark until you're happy with the color. The wood is porous, so once you add that color in, it is hard to get it out. I mist down my surface and the brush to help apply it as evenly and lightly as I can. And just like the tan paint wash, I wipe it down in even passes following the direction of the wood grain. I'll let you in on a little secret that I've had to learn the hard way. When you use a fluffy brush and swipe it back and forth like this, you can get small speckles of stain that fly off. Sometimes it'll fly all the way over to another piece that's sitting next to it. And sure enough, when I checked on my other nightstand, I found small speckles of stain on it. Luckily, it was still wet and I could just dab it away. So always check your pieces when you apply with a big fluffy brush like this. I like to stain the tops last. I guess it's because I think they're the most important part to get right. It's what everyone looks at first, so doing it last ensures that I don't accidentally get any rogue stain speckles on it or accidentally bumped when I'm moving the pieces around. Once this top part is stained, it sits in one spot and dries. No other work gets done around it, no mistakes can happen. One of the reasons my client fell in love with this piece was for the keyholes. It actually didn't come with keyhole plates, but that isn't a problem because of a man named Jeffrey Bezos. With same-day delivery in our modern world, I was able to have my antique keyhole covers. But one little problem, they didn't fit. I knew this though when I bought them, so I was prepared. I took my Dremel tool and slowly carved out a larger hole. It took a few iterations to get the sizing just right, but once it was done, it fit like a glove. A beautiful vintage glove. Alright, it is time to wrap this up. Matte top coat has been on repeat lately, and I like applying it with my spray gun. I primarily use the spray gun to apply top coat to ensure I don't mess up the stain. Ask me how I know that. I'll link both the spray gun and the top coat below. It's water-based, so it's really easy to clean up with the spray gun. And once that top coat is dry, I add the knobs and the keyhole covers back on. Lastly, these poor nightstands went through the trenches and she needs some moisturizer to look presentable again. I use a wood conditioner to bring life back into the insides and outsides of the drawers. I'll also have this linked. Okay, but can we talk about this glow up? She really went from sad, patchy, please help me vibes to warm, cozy, wood grain, main character energy. Like, this isn't just a nightstand set, this is a reset. So let's recap on her skills that she demanded. She needed cut into 2 pieces. She needed new back legs. She desperately needed a color correction to blend all those various wood types together. She needed missing veneer patched. She needed new keyhole covers. She needed a tune-up on her knobs, and she needs some serious hydration. Not gonna lie, this piece put me through it, but I kinda love a toxic relationship. And she knows her worth. We went from $30 to $650 with this one. What do you think? Was it worth it? Come back for my next flip where I tackle the most expensive set yet.